The Art of Not Giving a Fuck is written by Mark Manson. The book's title doesn't mean that we should be careless and indifferent in our lives. The purpose is to give less fucks and concentrate more on what's significant to us. In this video, I will focus on the first two chapters. There was a story about a person named Charles Bukowski, who was a gambler, a lout, a cheapskate, a deadbeat, a womanizer, and on his worst days, a poet. This man wanted to be a writer, but all his works were rejected. When he grew up and started working as a letter filer, an editor at a small independent publishing house took a strange interest in him. Charles had two choices: whether to refuse the offer and avoid problems, or accept it and take the risks. He seized the chance and wrote the first novel in 3 weeks. It was called Post Office. It was a success due to the number of the sold copies. He became popular and wrote other 6 novels and hundreds of poems in his career. Despite the fame he accomplished, he kept drinking booze and following women. That never changed him. He knew within himself that he was a failure, so he accepted that and wrote about it somehow. This what made him successful. Once he died, his epitaph read, "Don't try." So we need just to accept who we are. The society and media convinces people that having a luxurious house, an expensive car, and a very beautiful wife with whom we have great kids is what makes us happy. So we keep striving to make sure we get what we wish. These factors brings us to discuss the following quote. The desire for more positive experience is itself a negative experience, and paradoxically, the acceptance of one's negative experience is itself a positive experience. These words simply denote that the more we pursue feeling better, the less satisfied we become. The more we want to be rich, the poorer we feel, regardless of how much money we actually earn. And the more we want to be sexy and desired, the uglier we feel, regardless of our physical appearance. This doesn't imply that we have to give up on our goals, but it means that we should care less to minimize the damage. Sometimes, once we care less about something, we actually do better at it. On the other hand, pursuing the negative experience generates positive experience. The pain that you pursue in gym results in having better health and energy. The failure in a relationship helps you understand them well so that you know what needs to be done next time. The avoidance of something awful doesn't help at all. It just makes more difficulties arise to the surface. Avoiding suffering is a form of suffering itself. Keeping a distance from struggle is a struggle itself. Hiding what's shameful is a form of shame itself. Keeping pain away is not only possible but also destructive. It merely makes us give 2 more fucks. We should just embrace that these impediments are inevitable. We need just to ignore pain and do not give a fuck about it. Happiness is a real problem that pushes people to act differently towards what they run into. The author tells us a story concerning a father who had a theory of making his son's life optimum. This father built a wall around his palace and provided his son with everything he needed without letting him out of that palace. The purpose was to make the son's life perfect. As time passed, the son felt a sort of void in his heart. He sensed that he lacked something whose source was a mystery. One day he saw the outside world after sneaking out of the palace with the help of an acquaintance. He was totally shocked by reason of what he witnessed: suffering of human beings at all levels. When he returned to the palace, he was about to go crazy. Later, this son in turn had another theory that suffering is the key to fill the void. Therefore, he escaped from the palace and lived in the street. He ate with dogs, got all types of diseases, and went through a variety of hardships. Yet, what he had done never helped. His theory failed too, and the gap wasn't bridged at all. Eventually, he went under a tree, meditated for some time, and came up with his ultimate conclusion. Suffering and joy go hand in hand and cannot be separated. They are both necessary for having a balanced life. Marx says that happiness comes from solving problems. In the end, the work that we dream of is the one that we get stressed about, and the friend that we like is the one we argue with. The dream job we pursue is the one that makes us exhausted and anxious all the time. So, finding pleasure in fixing problems is what provokes happiness. We should just choose our struggle so that it's worth following. The question that we need to actually ask ourselves is how much pain we are ready to have rather than what we want to become. Emotions evolved for a purpose because they tell us that something is either right or wrong. They are like feedback mechanism. When you feel alone, this teaches you not to do anything stupid that makes you experience loneliness. If you feel pain by touching a hot oven, this teaches you not to do it when it's on. In other words, negative emotions are a call for action. Positive emotions, on the other side, are rewards for taking the appropriate action. It's true that emotions are a major part of our lives, but it's not the whole thing that we should hinge on entirely. Just because something feels good, it doesn't mean it's right. And just because something feels bad, it's not necessarily bad. Emotions are like signals that our system gives us, not commandments. Therefore, we must learn to question them. A lot of people repress their emotions due to cultural reasons. Sadly, doing that means denying the mechanism feedback that helps a person solve problems. Also, there are various people who base their decisions on their emotions. They move to another city just because it feels right. Similarly, some students drop out of school just because they feel it's the right thing to do. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time with another book.